Well, guys, we are less than a week away from the Batman hitting theaters. I get to see it, like you guys know, on March 1st. Obviously, it doesn't hit theaters right until March 4th, but it gives me another excuse to talk about the Dark Knight trilogy in 2022, guys. Let's just get out there. I love all three of these films. I rate all three of these films a 10 out of 10 for their own different reasons. It's so much the same, but they're so different at the same time, basically. I do want to say that I have these fucking films memorized to top and bottom. I have some notes right here that I definitely want to touch on, but let's kick it off. There's going to be definitely 3 little parts. Let's kick it off. Batman Begins, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale, Katie Holmes, Michael Caine, Liam Neeson, Cillian Murphy, and Gary Oldman and Morgan Freeman. That's cast. Let's talk about the Dark Knight trilogy, starting off with Batman Begins. And we follow the origin story of Bruce Wayne. We see him training through the League of Shadows, see his parents get gunned down in an alleyway by Joe Chill. Then we learn and see how Bruce Wayne becomes the hero that we all know and love, the Batman. Guys, something about the Batman, or something about Batman Begins, just so to speak. I seen the film when I was in kindergarten in 2006, and I didn't see it in theaters or anything like that. But one of the things I remember saying to myself is, I never saw the 1980s Batman yet or anything like that. I only watched the animated series and the Adam West Batman. So I never saw Michael Keaton, I never saw Val Kilmer or George Clooney at the time. But one of the things that I realized when I finished watching Batman Begins is this is awesome. This is what got Batman Begins, the Dark Knight trilogy as a whole, has got me what you love about the character of Batman or Bruce Wayne. Let's talk a little bit about Christian Bale playing Batman in this film. My first introduction to Christian Bale as an actor, he kills it as Bruce Wayne. I love how how built he got for this role in at least Batman Begins. He got really bulky. I love the suit design. I love the tumbler. There's so many things that I could really pick and choose that I love. All the gadgets are badass. The grapple gun, the tumbler, the bat suit. I don't know what suit I prefer. I actually like more the Dark Knight suit probably, but I really love the Batman Begins suit being like a one whole piece with the cowl, even though he can't really turn his head. But Scarecrow, played by Cillian Murphy, a phenomenal job as well. I love Liam Neeson playing Ducard or Ra's al Ghul. I love him. I love James Gordon, played by Gary Oldman in this film. Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine. Michael Caine is my favorite Alfred to date. Not even Jeremy Irons or Michael Gough have won me over yet. Maybe Andy Serkis can pull it off. We'll see. But Morgan Freeman as Lucius is incredible. The only person that I really don't care for in this film is Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes. I think she was definitely miscast for the most part, but hey, it is what it is. This film is also visually beautiful to look at. It's got that kind of orange, goldish color tint throughout the whole film, while you also have great visuals, action set pieces, fight sequences practically done. That's something I always respected about Nolan in his films, that he always goes for practical. Now, this is the only Batman film that didn't have any IMAX sequences or IMAX cameras used in the filming of this process. The film came out in 2005. They probably filmed it in 2004 or 2003-ish. So we didn't get any of that, but that, hey, it is what it is, and it looks incredible on 4K Blu-ray. That's definitely one to pick up. But I will say that also an incredible score by Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard. This score is the score that I always go to listen to in the gym. Hans Zimmer's Batman score from Batman Begins to Dark Knight Rises, that shit pumps me up, especially when we talked about Dark Knight Rises. Don't worry, we'll get there. But it pumps me right up. I quote these films by heart. Like, I literally can quote by quote these films. This is how much I have them memorized. I never said thank you, and you'll never have to.
Who said thank you? And you'll never have to.
Like, come on now. Like, fuck. Like, I love Batman Begins so much. It's a 10 out of 10 in my book, and I want to rewatch it real soon. Haven't watched it in a few months, but hey, We got to go back to it. Honestly, I was going to try to go back to it before the Batman releases. I was trying to watch the whole trilogy before the release of the Batman, but the Batman takes place in our next film, The Dark Knight, in year 2. And that's when Christian Bale's Batman takes place in year 2 for The Dark Knight. So let's get into The Dark Knight. Once again, The Dark Knight, directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Heath Ledger, Gary Oldman, Maggie Gyllenhaal, Gary Oldman, Aaron Eckhart, and Morgan Freeman. Listen, let's talk about the cast first of all. This film, Christian Bale is phenomenal as the Batman. I love him as Bruce Wayne as well. He's got everything. He hits all parts for acting. He's a phenomenal actor. There's no doubt about it. Goes from Patrick Bateman to Bruce Wayne to his character he played in The Fighter and The Machinist. Like, these characters are phenomenal, and he is an incredible actor. I love Christian Bale. He is definitely in my top 3 favorite actors of all time. I will say, Michael Caine, I love him as Gordon. I love Aaron Eckhart, actually, as Harvey Dent Two-Face. I think this is definitely the best film he's ever been in, and honestly, the best role he's ever chosen, to say the least. I love his character of Harvey Dent. I really do. And I love everything he brought to the table. Maggie Gyllenhaal is definitely a big step up. I love her as Rachel Dawes. She nails it, what she's got, even though Rachel's kind of a side character, really side character anyways. The love interest that's got a love triangle between Harvey Dent, Bruce, and her. So there's that as well. But obviously we're going to talk about the Oscar-winning performance of Heath Ledger as Joker. My favorite Joker, still way better than Joaquin, but I love Joaquin a lot. What he did in this film is remarkable. It really is. It's masterfully. It fucking is. It's awesome. But overall, Morgan Freeman, I love him as Lucius Fox, really brings the home. Same thing with Gary Oldman as James Gordon. But let's talk about the story, which is very straightforward, however, has so many surprises, so many cool things in the film. Let's talk about it. Basically, we have Batman going up against the mob with James Gordon, Harvey Dent, and the Joker's mixed in on all of this. The story is straightforward, but yet it's still so unique and so new and so awesome for the time. Now, I didn't see The Dark Knight either. I never got a chance to go see it in theaters. My parents didn't trust me to go see this movie in theaters, even though it is rated PG-13, so I had to watch it on, I remember right when it came out the first day at Blockbuster. I didn't buy it, but I rented it. I was like 8 or 9, and we finally watched it at home. Which, fuck, I wish I would have saw that in theaters. But one of the things, guys, love about The Dark Knight is we have an incredible score once again. Hans Zimmer and James Newton Howard returned to compose The Dark Knight. That fucking Joker score is something that it will always be in my head to this day. We have great visuals. The blue color tint is personally my favorite color tint of the whole trilogy. I really liked it. The Dark Knight Rises got that more orangish color tint to it. And then The Dark Knight is the blue, and then Batman Begins. Like I said, kind of got that goldish color, but the bluish teal, I really fuck with. I love the poster. I actually have it back here, and I got a 24 by 36 right here that I'm about to be hanging up real soon. The action sequences, set pieces, you guys know Christopher Nolan, practical effects, and this is the first time that there are implemented using IMAX sequences for a superhero film from the time being, and I believe, well, on the 4K Blu-ray that looks phenomenal. You get those IMAX enhanced sequences, which is something to die for. It really is. But really, guys, the truth is, what more is there to be said about The Dark Knight? A phenomenal story, a phenomenal cast, phenomenal visuals, phenomenal score, a phenomenal set pieces, action. Everything's there. With a 2-hour and 28-minute runtime, everything is there. It's a 10 out of 10, obviously, but there's so much more. There's not that much that hasn't been said about The Dark Knight that we know of. The interrogation scene, one of my favorite scenes of The Dark Knight is the interrogation scene, but honestly, I love when Batman's in the hospital, or that Pruitt building towards the end, when one of my favorite shots of the whole film is when he's kicking off the guards, and you get that blue light from the GCPD helicopter shining on him, and then the score is amped up, and then all the SWAT team gets like swung out of the outside of the building, and they're hanging on ropes. quote, that's one of my favorite sequences of all time in the Dark Knight trilogy. It really is. I can quote this movie by heart too. Why so serious? Overall, guys, the Dark Knight, fucking a masterpiece. It really is. But let's get into my personal favorite, The Dark Knight Rises. Directed by Christopher Nolan, starring Christian Bale, Gary Oldman, Michael Caine, Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway, Morgan Freeman. As we come 8 years after the events of The Dark Knight, leaving that dark, gritty ending where we know that Batman takes the fall for Harvey Dent's murder, that's where we leave off 8 years after those events. There's so much I love about The Dark Knight Rises. I love The Dark Knight Rises. It is my favorite out of them all. The funny part is I have my notes right here, and the thing is I have everything memorized in my head that I just go off of it. I'm not even looking at my notes, but now I got my Dark Knight Rises sheet out there. What I love about The Dark Knight Rises is the IMAX sequences are more or less the whole film. And if you watch the 4K Blu-ray of The Dark Knight Rises, which is definitely the best 4K Blu-ray transfer out of the whole trilogy, you really get a lot of those IMAX sequences. Now, I went on a Saturday to watch this film in IMAX with a packed audience, and my experience is probably why I love this film the best. The experience was something out of this world. It really was. We also are joined by Joseph Gordon-Levitt playing John Blake, known as Robin, which I thought he did a phenomenal job, as well as the character of being just that cop that wants to do good, the only good cop left in the city, it feels like, besides all the ones that have been bought up or corrupt. Even James Gordon, played by Gary Oldman for the last time, kind of got corrupt towards the end, taking the fall, or in on taking the fall for Harvey Dent's murder with the Batman. Christian Bale as Batman, he really shines in this film as Batman, but he really shines as Bruce Wayne. I love this film. You can feel the guy's pain. You can feel his hopelessness. You can feel everything that is coming out of him to make him become the Batman, where he doesn't want to be Batman anymore, but he has to be. It's something that he needs to do. Michael Caine is the emotional side of these films, and him playing Alfred in this film really were Alfred, so to speak, and that's what I loved always, and it's just such something good to always bring back home. I love actually Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. I thought she did a great job as being Selina Kyle. Not really too much Catwoman, but Selina Kyle, I thought she did a great job. But let's talk about the buff badass Bane, played by Tom Hardy. Those traps, guys, are something to die for, to tell you the truth. He is phenomenal as Bane. I'm gonna be honest, do I like the Joker or Bane better? I still don't know. Out of the Dark Knight trilogy, it's hard to pick because I just love Bane. All of Bane's motives are there. Joker did everything for pure chaos, right? All Bane's motives are there, and that's what I really loved about Bane, breaking the bat. This film really felt like the big epic conclusion. Now, this film is also scored by Hans Zimmer and Junkie XL, and the Dark Knight Rises theme of Gotham's Reckoning, Bane's suit, is fucking, I listen to that, Jim, gets me pumped up, gets the blood flowing. It's phenomenal. It really is. And I was just thinking of another thing too. With the visuals looking absolutely stunning, we got more practical effects in here, and it's everything blends the right way. Now, we do get a couple new gadgets that Batman's got. Now, we know he keeps the same suit from The Dark Knight, which I didn't really comment on in my part when I was talking about The Dark Knight, but I really like that suit. I love the mobility. It gives Batman a lot more mobility, can turn his neck, but I also love seeing the Bat Pod return, which I always thought was cool, coming out of the tumbler in The Dark Knight, and I love seeing the new iteration, the Bat, which is basically the Batwing. I thought that was cool to see. But one of the big things about The Dark Knight Rises is it really does feel like a full circle film. We get a lot of aspects that are important from Batman Begins, which has to do with Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul. With Bane, they all tie in, so that you definitely get all the vibe from the first film, but you also get that little big part of Bruce taking the fall of Harvey Dent's murder right in the middle as well. The only thing that I always thought was weird watching The Dark Knight Rises, which was really odd to me, even though there are a lot of plot holes in the film, and I always look over them, and I can admit there are some that are really noticeable too, is that they really never mention Joker. Now, do you really need to mention the Joker? You don't. But I always felt that like a little nod to him would have been something like, yeah, the Joker's locked up in Arkham from now on, or something like that, just to know that he still exists. That was my only problem ever with The Dark Knight Rises, is at least acknowledge Heath Ledger's Joker. But I get that maybe they just didn't want to, they felt like if they did, then people are going to be like, oh, we wanted to see Joker or something, but obviously it's not possible. So I don't know. That was always my little issue with The Dark Knight Rises, but overall, The Dark Knight Rises is my favorite Batman film to date and the favorite out of the trilogy, guys. But I need to know your thoughts below on the Dark Knight trilogy in 2022. Do you guys agree with like everything I've been saying? Do you guys like something different that I didn't say? Please let me know in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe for more. We are less than 3 days away from seeing the Batman, and I cannot wait. I got some cool ideas planned. Thanks for watching, guys. Subscribe for more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye, guys.